Neverland's Legacy, a cooperative board game in which players are moving about a pirate ship trying to search for Wendy's lost brothers. You get 4 action points each turn in order to move about the ship, fight pirates, search for the brothers, amongst other things. One unique aspect about this game is that you can also play it as the pirates, in which case you're moving about islands of Neverland trying to capture Wendy's brothers instead of rescuing. And that's the first thing that I really like about this game. You can play as both different sides. And these sides, they're similar enough so that you recognize the game that you're playing and you don't have to, learn a whole new game with a whole new set of rules. But they are different enough for it to feel refreshing and for it to feel replayable in that sense. The differences are basically that the boards are slightly different. Instead of it being a pirate ship, it is then a set of Neverland's islands. You move about them in slightly different ways, but most significantly, the actions that you can take on your turn are slightly different. But yeah, I think this game does that really, really well. It's different enough for it to feel fresh and replayable, but it's not so different that I'm like, oh, hang on, but I just learnt this game, and now I have to forget all those rules and remember a whole bunch of other ones. This game does that really, really well. And the other thing that I really like about this game is the despair mechanic. Each turn you get 4 actions, but if your character has, been through some despair, if a pirate has jumped out at them in the same room, or if they've taken a wound, you start your turn by rolling a dice. And basically the outcome of that dice will determine one of your 4 actions. And what I like about that is it is so thematic. In this theme, we're running about a pirate ship. If you're playing as the Lost Boys, you're running about a pirate ship looking for Wendy's lost brothers. It makes sense that towards the end of that battle, when you've been wounded, when you've been scared by pirates, when you've been fighting for a long time, your head isn't the best space to be making decisions, let's say, and you're not going to be as in control of your actions as you would otherwise be when you're fresh-headed in the beginning of a battle. It's a very innovative and very thematic way of incorporating that into a battle game. It's lovely, it's innovative, it's brilliant. I really, really like that mechanic. On the surface, this is a nice, simple game. You move about a pirate ship, you fight some pirates, you look for the lost brothers, and you try not to die in the process. A nice, simple game with a nice, simple flow. But what I don't like about this game is that flow isn't very nice at all. You end up spending a lot of time looking in the rulebook, and some of the rules just come across as a bit fiddly. There's a lot of sort of minor rules in this game that, affect the gameplay greatly and are very, very difficult to remember. Let's take an example turn and I'll show you what I mean. So it's Peter Pan's turn. Let's say that I want to fly to this area of the ship in order to defeat these pirates and search through these search tokens. First action, I'm going to fly over to here, except that's not the first action because the room effect here says that flying to and from Neverland to this part of the ship doesn't cost an action. So that's an action, except it's not an action. Then I'm going to taunt this guy into here. Why I'm doing that is reasons you'll understand in a second. And then I've technically only used 1 action to taunt that guy into there. And then I'm going to fight. And you can fight 1 pirate at a time, except I'm Peter Pan, I have the special ability that I can fight 2 pirates at the same time. Fighting a pirate kills them instantly, except it doesn't because these are brutes and they require 2 hits to be killed. So 1 action was to taunt, 2 and 3 is to kill both of these, and then the 4th action that I can take is then to search. And in this case, I found an apple, which I can discard during any character's turn to remove a wound from my character. Do you see what I mean? It comes across as a little bit fiddly that, I had to recognise the character's special ability, which is an easy thing to forget because you're not going to use that every time. You have to recognise the room effects, which, trust me, you're not going to use every time. And if you're fighting a blue, a red, or a yellow pirate, they basically go down differently when you're fighting them. That's the end of the turn, though. Let's take a threat card. Okay, so we have a yellow threat that is activated, and we have some text at the top. What does this say? A wave hits the ship. All characters and enemies on each ship deck are moved one location towards the front of the ship. So let's start by doing that. This yellow guy's going to move over here. This guy's going to move over here. And that guy's already at the front. Yeah, all characters and enemies. So I'm going to move over there, which is actually quite nice. But then the yellow guys are going to activate, and there's 3 yellow pirates on the ship who are going to do some slightly different things. So this guy is on my deck, so he's actually going to shoot me, so I then take a wound and a despair token. So I'd have to roll the dice at the start of next turn, which again is another thing that's easy to forget because you don't do that every turn. This guy is going to, I believe, move towards me. He's, let's see, this goes up to the hold. To the foredeck. So yeah, he's going to move up to here. This guy is actually going to move over here because he's then going closer to the search token. Rather than moving towards an enemy, he wants to search to try and find these lost boys on his own pirate ship. And yeah, if we had taken a red or a blue card, that would be completely different. Okay, by genuine coincidence, I just realised that at the end of that example turn, I forgot to place out the new pirates from the threat card. So do you see what I mean? It's easily done. It's very easy to forget about the room effects because you don't use them every turn. It's very easy to forget about your character's special ability because you don't use that every turn. It's very, very easy to forget, which order do you activate the enemies in because it's different for every type of pirate, and also then it varies depending on where the pirate is and whether they have search tokens near them, whether they have characters near them, whether there are hostages near them. There's a whole different list of priorities for them depending on what goes on. And you basically spend the entire game looking at what's going on here instead of looking at what's going on here. That's not how a game should be. And that's closely related to the second thing that I really don't like about this game. You saw in my example turn then the 4 actions that I can take, the part of my turn that I'm in control over. That bit does go relatively quickly. That bit is relatively smooth, it flows, it's quick, it's alright. But then you spend so much time after that doing admin. So much time, reading and interpreting text, and then putting out different enemies everywhere, and then looking through the rulebook for seeing, like, well, how does this enemy activate? How does this enemy activate? Even if those enemies are a long way away from your character, you've still got to reference the rulebook, and you've still got to check these things. And these things only escalate when you have a named enemy on the board, because they suddenly have passive threats which change the rules slightly. They suddenly have, more active threats and spawn more enemies when their colour is taken. There's so many sort of little fiddly things. You spend more time reading the back of the rulebook and also sometimes flicking through the rulebook for things you've missed and things you misunderstood, and then reading through the character cards than you do actually focusing on the game. The game is here. The game isn't here. All in all, I would give this game a score of 2 out of 5 bananas. I really like that you can play as both sides of the coin, so to speak. I also really, really like the despair mechanic. I wish that same mechanic existed in other better games. But, I really find that playing this game, you spend your life looking in the rulebook, and it's fiddly, it doesn't flow. You almost always forget something majorly or minorly important. And you basically spend so long doing admin that you don't feel like you're playing a game. You feel like you're just interpreting and applying rules. I want to play a game. I don't want to referee a game. So yeah, for me, this is probably a game that I'm going to end up selling at some point. But, I am just one man on the internet with a smartphone and an opinion. So take all of this with a grain of salt. It is very possible that you will love this game. Just don't invite me round to play it, please. But yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think. Please let me know down in the comments, and subscribe if you haven't already. I do this type of review. I try and release a video every week, and I would love to see you again. So take care. Goodbye. I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye.